Testing, 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 testing.
Ladies and gents, just have your attention just for a short while. Firstly, just to sort of say thank you for coming along this evening. We really appreciate your support coming out on a Friday night down here to chat to us about three things really that we're talking about tonight. Firstly, the high performance review. Secondly, a little bit of a review on 2022, and then a bit of a taster for 2023. We are broadcasting around the world as we speak, so we are live around that. I don't think we can see what names are on there, so maybe there's an A. Strauss on there. I don't know. Who knows who's listening? So we'll see. But tonight really is about hearing from you, getting your views, and hearing what you have to say about particularly the high performance review. Because we want to reflect what our members think. We're here to protect Leicestershire County Cricket Club and what our members want. So it's very important to us with regards to hearing your views. So please don't hold back, and I'm going to come to you very shortly. However, before I do that, I just want to introduce a couple of people to my left and right who you may know. I'll start on my left. We've got, as of announced today, I believe, on the website, is our permanent Director of Cricket, Claude Henderson, who joins us. So Claude will give us a little bit about his views a bit later on as well, and the season. So give him a round of applause at least. You know, fantastic. Normally get a boo, Claude, but that's good. And then to my right, your left is looking at, is our chair, Jonathan Duckworth. So Jonathan became the chair.
Take it from here.
Yeah, so, go for it, Jonathan.
Yeah, absolutely. So interim chair in November, and then that was formalised after the March AGM. And look, Sean's absolutely right. First and foremost, thank you for coming, and thank you for joining online. This is your night. We want to know what you think. Sean and I and Claude, we've been in ECB meetings. This has been rumbling on now for what? It must be 6 months. And we do now have something in writing. I have to say, some of the things in there are not things that reflected the discussions that we had in those consultation meetings with the ECB. And what we said to the ECB as a group of 18 first-class county chairs was, whoa, hang on a minute. We're not going to be railroaded into a vote and a decision until we've had the chance to talk to our membership and find out what you think. So that's why there are no changes to the domestic structure for 2023, and that's why there isn't even yet a date for the vote about 2024. We don't have one. So we are wanting to make sure that before there is a vote, we are fully informed and able to share your views as part of that process. So please do, as Sean says, do not hold back. We want to know what you think.
Thanks, Jonathan. I think on that note, we do have a roving mic. So our new head of communications, I don't think that's gone out on the website yet, is a young lady here to my left, which is Amy Reid. So she joins us from this week, brings a lot of new energy to the club. It's great to have you joining us, Amy. So Amy is our roving mic, so she'll be able to come to you guys and want to hear your views. So the Strauss review's out there, as you've heard. I think you've seen my opinions, or you've heard about my opinions, you've probably read about them in the press and whatever. For us, I'm keen to hear from you, and I know there's some people online as well who probably typing away and expressing their views. So is any brave soul want to go first? And fantastic, look at that, that was quick. So we'll come across the mic and we'll hear what you have to say, sir.
Thank you. At the end of this pavilion building, there's a large plaque on the wall. It's got about 450 names on it. Those are the members of this club who paid their subscriptions in 2020, even though there was no cricket to go and watch. They did it again in 2021, when it was very restricted what you could see. Now, the same thing happened across all 18 counties. People gave their money but weren't able to watch the cricket. It helped to keep the clubs afloat. the ECB must have known that was going on. It therefore seems extraordinary that so soon afterwards they should come along with proposals that severely reduces the amount of cricket you'll be able to watch, particularly four-day cricket. Now, this review was commissioned after England got thrashed in the Ashes last winter, and the conclusion basically is county cricket is no good. Now, if it had been commissioned after the end of this summer's Test cricket, presumably the conclusion would have been county cricket is absolutely brilliant. England played 7 matches, won 6, I think. The only conclusion I can draw from that is that the amount of county cricket played has no bearing on the outcome of Test matches. One simple reason for that is the Test players, the likes of Joe Root, Johnny Burstow and Ben Stokes, virtually never play in the county championship anyway. So how on earth that is supposed to reflect into England results, I just do not know. Now, the most contentious part of the review, as everybody knows, is bringing it down to 10 championship matches from 14. And the figure is mooted about the volume of cricket and 78 days cricket. Now, if you think about it, it's 78 days over about 5.5 months, which works out at a tad over three days a week. Now, if you said to anybody in office or factory, we'll give you a 3-day week, they'd bite your hand off, wouldn't they? Plus, of course, if it rains, you get the day off. Well, I don't think any doctors or nurses get the day off if it rains, do they? Sorry about that, yeah. But the other point about that is, how many people actually play 78 days a week, 78 days a year across all 18 counties? I would suggest to you it is very, very few. But you might well be right, sir, it might well be none. So this figure of 78 days, to my mind, is a complete myth. And if it was reduced, as Sir Andrew Strauss suggests, it came down by 20 days, would clubs like Leicestershire really still need so many players? Would they need a director of cricket, a head coach, a second team coach, a batting coach, a bowling coach, all the strength and conditioning people? Surely they'd have to trim the playing and coaching staff drastically. Now, the other thing it stresses a lot is they need more time for rest and practice. And I appreciate you do obviously need time to rest and to practice. But also remember, of course, other jobs who haven't got this 3 days a week bonus also have to do a lot of preparation time at home. But one interesting thing to do is look at how the players spend their rest time. Just take this year's Leicestershire squad, for example. On 16 of his precious rest days, Hassan Azad was playing for Wallerton in the Notts League. Sam Evans spent 14 of his precious rest days playing for Leicester Ivanhoe in the Leicestershire League. He also spent 6 days playing for Lincolnshire in the minor counties, so that was 20 rest days he spent playing. Ronan Walker, a pace bowler, he spent 11 days playing for Leicester Ivanhoe in the Leicestershire League. If you just look down the road to Kibworth, everybody here knows Josh Cobb, don't they? Well, Josh became a regular in the Northants 4-day team this season. He's also captain of the Northants 1-day team, and he's captain of the Welsh Fire in the 100. So how did Josh spend his rest days? Surely he must need to rest more than anybody else. He spent 5 of them playing for Kibworth, would you believe, in the Leicestershire League. Are those the actions of people who need more rest time? Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's a complete and utter farce. Mickey Arthur, the Derbyshire head coach, who's got an awful lot of experience all around the world coaching Test teams, has said his players do not think they need to play less cricket. They think they play about the right amount of cricket. The problem is the scheduling of it. And one thing I hope that the chairman here is aware of, I'm sure he is that the Derbyshire chairman, Mr. Ian Morgan, he has said that he thinks that the 100 could be compressed to be played in 3 weeks rather than the current 4.5, which would make the scheduling an awful lot easier for everybody. It would spread the thing out. Because at the minute, some people didn't play for 5 weeks at all at the heart of the season. As a final word, I'd just like to remind you of the words of Sir Andrew Strauss. This is not Andrew Strauss 2022, this is Andrew Strauss in 2011 when he was captain of England. He'd just come back from Australia where he led England to victory in the Ashes in the winter of 2010-2011. And in the first half of 2011, he captained England in the Test series against Sri Lanka. There was then a hiatus before the four-match series against India. And the week before the Test series started, Middlesex didn't have a game. So what do Endo Strauss do? He asked to go on loan to Somerset to play in the game against a tour game against India. He scored 78 and 109 not out. He then went on to lead England to a 4-0 victory in that Test series. And when asked why he wanted to play for Somerset, he said, "As well as playing for Middlesex in first-class cricket, I need to look for as many opportunities as I can to make sure I am fully prepared come that first Test match against India." He needed the practice, and the players of today need practice. So I sincerely hope that whoever casts the vote for Leicestershire will not do anything to reduce the amount of four-day cricket. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's the end of the night then. Thank you. So thank you. Very eloquently put, may I say. Brilliant. And do you do after dinner speeches? Because I think I want to. Fantastic. Thank you. That was really, really good to hear. Any other comments? I mean, how do you follow that? Any other comments out there that anybody would like to make? John, fantastic. Oh yeah, I believe you. I trust you.
I'm going to follow up on what Tim's just said, actually, because he's obviously pinched my spreadsheet here. Just a note, a side note on cricket and the amount of cricket that's played. If we take the start of this season as being the universities game on the 26th of March through to the last day of the last game against Derbyshire, 185 days. And our most appearances as an individual in the club was Harry Swindles, and he played 38% of those days available, and he was the top one. The second one was Callum Parkinson, who played 37% of the 185 days, and that included 5 weeks in which he bowled 4 overs in the 100. So I absolutely concur with everything that Tim said about this. I just, on a broader note, I'd like to say, having looked at the report in some detail, I think it lacks hugely in substance. I think there are sound bites galore in there, and typically the ones are, we play too much cricket, yeah, we've talked about that and could go on about it, and the structure of everything. Clearly, they don't have 3 days on and 4 days off, and that's, I think, the nub of the problem. That it is the structure of how the season is put together, rather than the actual number of games that are played. As I say, I don't think there is anything. There's no evidence base, despite the detail in the 37 pages of the review, that would actually point to how the England team would be more successful if we adopted any of these changes. It's almost made an assumption that you play less cricket, you give more skills-based training and all of this sort of thing, and all of a sudden the England team will be a much better side. I don't think there is any evidence of that, and certainly my view would concur with Tim's. I think there's a wider picture here that's not in the document. That I think there is an agenda unwritten yet about city-based teams, and the fact that the ECB are very keen to get to a point where there will be 8 city-based teams actually playing all formats. And I would expect that the master plan is that those 8 city-based teams play 4-day cricket, T20 cricket, RL50, and the 100, and everybody else can go sing for their supper. And I think that's the key thing here. So, to me, we might be talking just about reductions in games and structures of seasons and all that sort of thing. But I think that in the longer term, there's a bigger agenda, and I think any chairman of any of the 18 county cricket clubs that votes for this is in the long term voting for the demise of those clubs.
Brilliant. Thanks, John.
Can I pick up on a couple of those points, because I think that's really well made from both of you and you're absolutely right, frankly. The vote, when it does come to a vote, needs 2/3 of the counties to vote through any change to the domestic structure. So in those recommendations that you've got, there are 17 points. It's actually only points 10 and 11 that there'll be a vote on. And quite frankly, and Sean has said this, totally agree with everything Sean has said, the other 15 points are things that the ECP could have cracked on and gone on and probably should have been doing by now anyway, frankly. So when it comes to a vote, it's going to be really interesting to see how this goes. And as 18 first-class county chairs, we have now committed that we will gather through the forums collective views and then see what that's telling us. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. And, yeah, has anyone else got anything else they'd like to add?
My name's Andrew Boyce. I'm the father of Matthew Boyce, who actually spent 21 years here at Leicestershire. So I have a conflict of interests, perhaps. I think you all ought to know that the review is all about getting rid of counties rather than supporting England. And the previous speaker makes a great note about the 8 cities. And that's because they want to concentrate money in those areas where they've already got an interest, i.e. the test match cricket grounds. Now, this report has been produced by a management consultancy firm. So its basis are lies, and high performance review. Because if you look at all the charts and the statistics, they are all, and I know I was a management consultant for over 20 odd years, all they are doing is proving a point by having the x-axis and the y-axis either accentuate a point or reduce a point. So, first of all, the high performance review is not based on anything concrete at all. Nothing has been said about how many days, how many people are mentally ill or mentally aware, physically, and I think it's already been pointed out that the real high intensity is really at test match level, and that's got nothing to do with the cricket or county cricket at all, because those players are centrally contracted. If the ECB wanted to protect them, they have that option of centrally contracting more. So this is not about anything apart from losing county cricket. There's always been a view at ECB level that that county cricket they were paying too much for. Now, there's a conflict of 4 competitions. That's there with Richard Thompson, who's now seen the light and joined the ECB. Before, he was against what the ECB were doing in the 100. Now, there are only 4 competitions because the ECB wanted to introduce the 100. Why? Why couldn't they just beef up the T20? The amount of money spent on the 100 is huge and is not proportionate to the amount of benefits that it's gained. It really isn't. If they'd ploughed that money into the T20 or even the T100, if they wanted to change the game, then you'd have more members, more people coming through the gates at county grounds that deserve it. I applaud what Sean and his board are doing now in terms of inclusivity and diversity and having a different way of doing things. And they're growing the game. So really, you really ought not to vote for this, because you're voting, you know, you're like turkeys voting for Christmas.
Yeah, thank you. You're absolutely right. And I want to pick up on the T20, because what the proposals suggest is that we would lose to home T20 matches. We've done some maths. We reckon that would cost us £250,000. We can't afford that. And the logic, the argument, is that that's going to turn England into a world-beating T20 side. Hang on a minute, this is the same England team, when you talk about too many domestic T20 matches, that has just played 7 games in 10 days against Pakistan. So if you're talking about player burnout, then surely that's where the problem lies, frankly not with domestic cricket, and taking away 2 home T20 matches from us is something we would never vote for.
Okay, I think there was somebody who wanted a couple of hands up there, Amy. Mr. Freer.
Just briefly, Sean, it seems to me that the high performance review was in a difficult position in one sense. It was trying to get a quart out of a pint pot. It was trying to do too much, trying to please everybody. And that, to me, seems almost impossible. Quite frankly, when it comes to 4-day cricket, we're talking about a reduction. My honest opinion is that there should be an increase. I cannot see what is wrong, for example, in going back to 2 divisions. 2 divisions of 9 teams. It means we play 8 other teams, and I would suggest home and away. That would give us 16 championship matches a season. What is wrong with that? Wouldn't that be, in fact, a way of producing better players for test match cricket? And I would hope, and I don't know whether this is possible when you go to the Lord's meeting for the vote, whether you can put forward proposals, not just that you're against it, but what you would like to see. And I know I'm just speaking for myself at the moment, but I cannot see what is wrong with an increase in county championship cricket.
Yeah, well said, Jim. Yeah. Correct.
Football, Manchester United will play 3 times in a week. I can't believe that they would even think that we would fall for it. We're the, if you lose your members, if you reduce the number of matches, you reduce the commercial cake that you can go for. Upton Steel will say, well, you're only playing this number of matches. Why should we pay this per year? All the people round the boards over here, why should we pay if we're only going to get so many people through? It's absolutely crazy. It's not a good marketing outcome in terms of generating income.
No, you're amongst friends. I think we echo. I think just before we go to the gentleman over there for a question, just see a show of hands. If you were to go for 2 divisions of 9, put your hands up. I think that's pretty. 1 of 18. Let's try that. If you wanted 1 of 18, put your hands up. And if you wanted 2 divisions of 9, I think that's close.
And what do people think about the 3 groups of 6 and playoffs for a promotional relegation? Any thoughts?
Gentleman over there's got. That's it, Amy. We'll come to you, sir.
As far as the formats that they've put forward, we'll be having a competition with 18 counties taking part and 12 of them can't win it. That can't be right. Reiterating points that were made earlier, I remember the days when cricketers played 32 3-day championship games. That's 96
days' worth of red ball cricket. Admittedly, in those days, there was no T20 and there was no 50 over competition. But players didn't travel in luxury coaches and cars, they got trains. And, you know, the world was a lot different. And we produced fantastic test teams in that period. So I don't hold with this whole player burnout situation. If we have a competition with a first division of only 6 teams in it, teams like Leicestershire will be investing money in young players, but they'll just move because the ECB will want those players to play in Division 1. So Leicestershire will be doing the work that other counties should be doing in finding test quality players. So where's the incentive for teams like Leicestershire to invest in young cricketers? What the ECB, in my view, also haven't addressed is the long-standing problem in this country that years and years ago playing fields were sold, so that there's no cricket, hardly any cricket in schools anymore. So youngsters haven't got the grounding and learning their cricket at a young age. They're relying on clubs now to have junior cricket teams, which is all well and good. But, you know, when I was at primary school, I was playing cricket. Primary school children aren't playing cricket now. So there's generations of players who are miles behind in their development because they haven't played from a young enough age. And the ECB now are encouraging in all their coaching courses the coaches to get youngsters to hit the ball out the park rather than learn the basics of the game first. They're concentrating on white ball skills, and therefore red ball skills aren't being taught. And if they are, you know, they're teaching them too late in players' development. And that will also affect the standard of cricket in county cricket and club cricket, because these guys have not had a proper grounding in red ball skills. There's no way that by reducing the number of games that each county play, that players will improve. They won't. You can't improve by not playing. You've got to practice. And the best practice is out in the middle. Not pushing weights in a gym or nets or whatever. You've got to play games. And I think they've got the emphasis completely wrong. We should be playing more cricket.
Thank you. Yeah, agreed. Yep. I think we've got one over here, Amy, on this side. Gentleman over here, sort of dark purple jumper. There we go. We'll come to the internet in a minute. Josh, have we got any questions coming through? Agreements, okay.
I was just wondering about spin bowling, and one of the things that is mentioned in the review is where we go with spin bowling, and I can't quite see how reducing the amount of cricket that any county cricketer plays is going to improve the amount of spin bowling and the quality of the spin bowling that we have in this country at the moment. It's been poor for years and it's getting worse. We're very lucky to have a very good young spinner ourselves at the moment, but they are thin on the ground. And to me, if you're only playing 5 or 10 games home and away, spinners aren't really going to improve very much if they don't play enough cricket, especially if they're only playing in April, May and September. So that is one thing that I think needs to be looked at very closely, what happens as far as spin bowling is concerned. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and this might come up later, but I'll mention it now. Just a couple of weeks ago, Joe Root was photographed playing golf. Well, that's fair enough, he's allowed to. But on the same day, his county, Yorkshire, were relegated from Division 1. Now, I'm no Yorkshire fan, but if I was a Yorkshire fan, I would be extremely unhappy. Is it time that we had a system of bonus points given to counties that produce England players, so that if they go off to play golf when they should be playing cricket, at least the county gets something from the fact that they are England players?
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you. Two very good points. Absolutely. I think the consensus is about getting a bit of a feel of rest of players and all that sort of thing. So it would have been good if we'd have had an ex-player or a spinner on the panel, maybe. But so I think it would. I'm only joking. It's a great spin question there. So. There you go. There you go. This man would have never done that. So I think before I come back out to the panel, it'd be great to hear from Claude and what his thoughts on this are from an ex-player professional. I may say there are only a handful of men that have ever won the T20 3 times. He's one of them.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, thanks for some wonderful support we've had this year. It's always great to see some old faces and really exciting. This is all the points tonight has really made me think, and it's some fantastic points. I grew up in South Africa. I could honestly say. We have always admired county cricket. Every cricketer in South Africa wants to play county cricket. Number one, because it's the off-season, so that's a good opportunity to keep playing for 12 months. But also the amount of cricket, because it makes county cricket unique. My first introduction to county cricket was early 90s through a gentleman by the name of Bob Wilmer, who was the coach of Warwickshire, and he brought me over here in the leagues in Birmingham, and I witnessed county cricket. What I will say is, back then, there wasn't 100. So now we're sitting with 4 competitions squeezed into 6 months to try and keep certain cities happy with 100, and it's made it really tricky. I don't think we would have had this conversation tonight if the 100 wasn't there. So that's the first point I want to make. Back in South Africa, we really proud ourselves of having a really strong system. And we actually didn't play the amount of cricket everybody wanted to play. We were running towards club cricket on weekends. Tim, it was a big thing for the players to play as much cricket. I'm going to argue from a cricketer's point of view, and I'm going to back you all from a county cricket's point of view, and I'm going to not try and sit in the fence, but I want to explain both ends. 4-day games played Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday's recovery. We're now in 2022. The games involved. Back in the day, there was no ice baths, no special diets, no recoveries. Strength and conditioning wasn't even close to where it is today. Tuesday is practice day. Wednesday, travel day. Right? So that's their side. This is what everybody's arguing. We've got 5 months. August is 100. How are we going to squeeze in all the cricket to make it high performance? My fear is, what I've listened from is the boys tonight, there's agendas going on. That to me is a big fear. If that's the case, we have to protect our game, because that shouldn't be the aim. If the aim is to specialize everywhere in the cities, we can't vote. There's no way we can do that. On the other end of the scale, of course, cricketers develop by playing the game. You're not going to develop by playing club cricket or sit in a hotel or travel. The Rian Ahmeds, the Rishi Patels, the Louis Kimbers, all these young players have to play 4-day cricket to develop. It's the best way of developing is playing the game. So it's a real tricky situation we're sitting in. Is it the right thing to say, let's cut cricket? No. I don't think that's the right way. The challenge we sit with is the 100. How do we go about that? And that for me is the scheduling of all the cricket, and not really the amount of cricket we're playing, is the scheduling. I hope I've answered some questions. I'm very open to some more. I love evenings like this because we're all passionate about the game, and nobody is really right or wrong. It's just a case of talking about it, and it's all positive. But thanks again.
Brilliant. Thanks, Claude. I think got a round of applause. There were one or two hands that popped up. Hang on, we've got a question, I think, from the internet. We'll come back to you, John.
We do. Probably, maybe for you, Claude. It's you've touched on the players there. A question from John that says, in general, what do the players think? Do the players want to play more?
If you haven't scored any runs, they want to play less. If they've scored some runs, no. Players want to. Batsmen want to play more. Bowlers want to play less. Spin bowlers want to play more. Fast bowlers want to play less. So if it's very difficult for the hardest cricketer to attract to Leicestershire is the fast bowlers. The easiest player to attract to Leicestershire are the batsmen. The hardest overseas players to find are the fast bowlers. Where cricket's gone with franchise cricket, why would you bowl 25 overs if you can bowl 4? The challenge with that is, and I'm going to go back to the gentleman at the back made a very, very good point. For any cricketer to develop into a good white ball cricketer, he has to get the fundamentals right in the red ball game. You name me one white ball cricket star that's made it without playing red ball cricket. I can probably name one or two. Tim David is one, maybe a couple of West Indian cricketers. But all those white ball stars in the IPL have all started in red ball cricket. So I hope that answers some of your questions. Yep.
Great. Any other hands up? John, I think you got a hand up. We've got a question over there, so come to John and then we'll come to you.
Thanks. I just wanted to pick up on the question or the comment that Jonathan made a while ago about the 3-division structure. And with no apology to my mate Dave Griffin at Derbyshire, who put out a very eloquent video, as he does, about these things. If you, and let's just remember that the original vote on this was supposed to take place on the 22nd of September, so that we would be approaching the 23 season on the basis of this approval. As I say, for Dave's stats, not mine, but if you take the 6 top teams in Division 1 that would then form the Premier Division, and this is all predicated in what I said earlier, sound bites. This is best versus best, as the review constantly reminds us. Those 6 teams in Division 1, 6 of the 17 test-playing individuals who played cricket for England this season would appear in Division 1. The rest would be in Divisions 2 and 3. And 3 of the 6 teams would have no England test players in them at all if you'd drawn the cut-off for this year. I think it's all about sound bites, and there's no substance to the argument about best versus best. So whether it be 2 teams of 9 or 1 of 18, they are undoubtedly, in my view, the best of the best.
Brilliant. Thanks, John. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Round of applause. I think we've got a question over to the right-hand side, Amy.
I'm doing my best. I'm not quite as quick as Annika Rice.
Hi. It seems to me that the high performance review is predicated on the fact that it's for England teams to do well. And as a member of the Cricket Society, Leicestershire Cricket Society, last night we had Paul Farbrace down here to speak to us, who was absolutely brilliant. But he said, we questioned him about this, and he said, and I totally agree with him, not everybody is that interested in England doing well. I want them to do well here and there, but it's not my priority. My loyalty lies to Leicestershire and the cakes, and thank you, friends of Grace Road. And I want to see Leicestershire do well. We come to every format, T20, One Day, County Championship, and we really want them to succeed. And if any Leicestershire players go on to play for England, fantastic. It's reflected glory, but we've done the hard work, and I hope I can see the bigger picture in this. But what I can't see is a benefit to my county.
Yeah, good comment. Yeah, excellent. Are there anybody else that wants to make any comments? Yeah, we've got one down at the front here, Amy. You get your steps up tonight, Amy.
Going back, can you hear me? Going back to the alleged eight cities, how does that help expand the game? I mean, if you live, say, I went to university in Exeter, so say I stayed down in Exeter. The nearest county to Exeter is Taunton, which was just up a couple of stops on a train. But if you go to the 8 counties, so somebody living in Devon, say, you're a young person, where do you watch your cricket? How do you get interested in cricket in order to... So if you're concentrating around the 8 cities, surely the potential next generation is reduced. How does that make the England team better?
Totally agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, another reason why we could not ever vote for losing home T20 matches. And also we need to talk about why under the proposals there's no competitive cricket in August. When, look, I mean, I will tell you, I used to come and sit here as a kid and I would watch county championship matches in my summer holidays from school. I sit in the same seat every match, every day. And I have a different group of school friends with me on different days. But I was still there, watching the game in the same seat throughout the county championship match. Because that's where I fell in love with Leicestershire and with cricket. And actually, the ECB proposals, as I can see them, do nothing for the inspiring generation strategy of encouraging young people to fall in love with the game. I can't see anything in there that actually does that. What are people's thoughts on the festival of cricket and August? Really keen to hear what people have to say.
I think we've got that one. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna play a bit of devil's advocate now. An interview that was held by Dan Rowan of the BBC chatted to Richard Thompson, and he talked about a compromise versus the proposal. I think I was quoted in that interview. If there was a compromise, what would our members want the compromise to be? Or are you drawing a line and saying no compromise?
Tom Harrison that created the problem in the first place. All right? He introduced the 100 and then expected somehow that he was then, over time, going to reduce it back to 3 competitions. Mr. Thompson can only come from the position of compromise because he created the position in the first place. Most people who like compromise are those ones who have created the havoc initially. All right? And that's exactly what the ECB did. They knew what was happening. All of us knew what was happening because we were up in arms that they weren't supporting the T20 as much as they were supporting the 100. and do not believe any of the statistics relating to increased participation and everything related to the 100. Because in the first season, they got no revenue because most of the bloody tickets were free. Okay, you won't be able to make, it's only commercial from the TV rights, nothing else. And what happens if the TV don't want it anymore?
Yep. Good point. Excellent point. Yeah, well made. Good point. Well made. Okay. Are there anybody else that would like to? Oliver. You're going to write a letter to the Mercury after this? Good on you.
Yes, I mean, my overall opinion on this high performance review, dare I call it that, is basically the ECB want to put counties like Leicestershire, Derbyshire and Northants, the three that everybody keeps mentioning as the small counties, in a position where we're no use to them because we don't produce England players apparently, or sustain England players. And they basically long-term want rid of us, knowing that they're not it's not down to them to get rid of us personally, but they're going to just get rid of us. They're going to put us in a position where we have to withdraw ourselves from the county championship, because obviously they know we won't be able to sustain ourselves with this new proposal, and basically they know that, right, if we give them 2 less 2020 games, which are vital, and 2 less county championship games, which, give a nice sunny weekend if it's scheduled right, that's all less revenue, isn't it? And even a couple of 50 over matches. That is my genuine view. That is what they eventually plan to do.
Agreed. Absolutely, Oliver. Again, another good point, well made. And while I've got the opportunity, I do want to say thank you for what you do for Leicestershire County Cricket Club, and writing those letters to the Mercury is absolutely brilliant, and to be appreciated. So can we give Ollie a round of applause for that? Thank you, sir. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Well, it's
I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm no better than anybody else sat in this room. I'm a supporter, and we're all passionate. That's why we're here tonight. And maybe I just have a bit too much time on my hands, but I really do love expressing my thoughts and opinions. And this club is my life, and I just love this club and everything and everybody to do with it. I'm just so proud to be here tonight, and long may it all continue.
Please do so, Oliver. Thank you. So do we have any other comments that we want to make? Oh, we've got another one at the back.
Could I just politely jump into our lovely panel? We're getting a bit of feedback. We think if you turn your microphones off when other people are speaking, that should solve the problem.
We're all off.
Yeah, all right.
Just a final word on the 100 competition, which is undoubtedly the bugbear of the whole situation. The ECB sold that competition on the basis that the best players in the world would be playing in that competition. That's far from the truth, because over the last 2 seasons, the vast majority of the players playing in that come from county cricket and even second 11 cricket. There's very few world stars playing in that, because they're all playing elsewhere, either in other franchise competitions or in Test cricket. That competition, in my view, is a complete waste of time. I accept that the counties received a hefty amount of money at the outset. I don't know what the situation is now or in the future as to how much money the counties will receive. But from a cricketing point of view, that competition is affecting, if this review goes ahead, all 3 of our domestic competitions, and that can't be right.
Yeah, I'll just give you a bit of info on the 100 and what we receive. So we receive as a club 1.3 million each year for participating in the 100, which is a lot of money for Leicestershire County Cricket Club. So, and I think that's where the conflict exists really for us, because without it, we'd struggle. We'd really struggle. But with it, it kind of helps us. But I mean, everybody on the board at Leicestershire inherited that vote. Would I have done it differently myself back in the day? Most definitely. I'd have focused on the T20 and built the T20 as opposed to 100. But we've got it now. Now, that runs for another further 2 years under the 1.3 contribution that we get. After that, we are yet to hear from the ECB, despite having signed the TV deal till 2028. So that needs to come out in due course. So we watch with interest to see what happens. Your guess is as good as mine what will come. Go for it.
It's been very good for women's cricket.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I really do feel that I'm saying everything about the 100.
Yeah,
Not that it couldn't have come with the Rachel Hayhoe Flint and all the other bits and pieces in terms of television. But for the ladies to be exposed, it really has grown their game.
I totally agree with that, and we've seen that here in Leicestershire. It's actually mushroomed as a consequence. I think it's what the purpose of the 100 was supposed to be, in my opinion, and that was. I agree. I totally agree. I'm in your camp. I'm in your camp. So it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. There was a hand up back there. Did you want?
Thank you. In actual fact, the point I was going to make has just been made, really, that the ECB should have marketed our domestic T20 competition much better, and also marketed the 50 over competition and the county championship. They've marginalised the county championship by bringing this 100 in, and they're also now marginalising the domestic T20 competition, because I mean, if that gets reduced and the standard of overseas players or whatever deteriorates, TV companies like Sky, who show the T20 at the moment, may lose interest in that. And that will seriously reduce the amount of money that Leicestershire and the other counties receive. Had they have just not gone ahead with this 100 and done proper marketing on the existing competitions, I'm sure the counties would still get that 1.3 million.
Yeah, fair point. Points at the front.
Can I firstly reiterate the point about the women's and 100?
Agreed.
Albeit, I used to go and watch the Kia Super League at Loughborough, and if that had been marketed properly and played at the right places, I can't see why the women's game couldn't have expanded by investing in that. But my main point is the option to change the format at the end of, before 2028? Because I'm thinking that 100 seems to me to be a competitive format to the IPL. The IPL runs on 2020. If the ECB go head-to-head with the BCCI, I can only see one winner. I think that's possibly why none of the Indians go to the 100.
Agreed. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you're dead right. I'm sat here. I'm actually yet to see what the long-term business plan for the 100 is. Where do they want to take it? It's an ECB product. Where do they want to take it? How will it develop? How will it contribute to the game? I get why they've done it, and I get why the finances have come into the game, but actually what's the long-term play for it? I've yet to understand that. I mean, for me, I want to see another year before I really make a judgment call on it. Yep, we've got one at the front.
We just have one question from online.
Oh, from the online.
A couple of questions, Sean. One on the structure and one on finances. So from John, if the meeting with the ECB was tomorrow and it was Sean say so on what they do, what would he pitch for a season with 100 still factored in?
Oh, what a question. I was asked that by the BBC, and It's difficult to know. Me personally, I would like to see T20 elongated. I'd prefer to see the championship run through August. I just don't get why the best month for cricket we're not playing championship cricket. I know some of the bigger counties wouldn't vote for that, or those that lose players to the 100 if the 100 is still there. If something was to give, maybe it's the 50 over game that changes a little bit, maybe comes preloaded. But for me, what's happened here is the 100 has put cricket out of kilter, and it's now really, really difficult to try and find the solution. And something's got to give, and I think personally, county championship cricket should be played right the way through the year.
Just secondly, before we go back to the room, we touched on before in your initial statement about the financial impact for the club of the high performance review and the proposed structure in reduction of cricket. Jack asked, can Sean break down the 250,000 loss and just sort of explain how that comes about?
Yeah, sure. It's a combination. The 250k is a combination of loss of revenue from ticket sales on the two games, plus then you've got loss of earnings from the conference and banqueting. You would have loss of earnings from sponsors that wanted to have it was mentioned earlier about that comment. So once you add all that up, as well as reducing the championship games and the revenue that we get through the Charles Palmer Lounge and things like that, it equates to about a minimum of 250k. Now the other thing to take into consideration, if you take two of those games away from us in the T20, we're left with 5. Let's say we have a rainy day or 2 rainy days, we're down to 3. That is... That would crucify us. Down at the front, Amy? No, just down here. It's pantomime. She's behind you.
Hi, good evening. I don't think we should gloss over something that you said a few minutes ago about the ECB's TV deal. Which has been done for 5 years to 2028 without the club knowing how much money we're going to receive during that period. How did it happen? Weren't the counties involved in a vote? Explanation?
No, that's the answer. The counties were not involved in a vote, and we still haven't been given any figures in terms of what we would get beyond, I think, the next 2 seasons. So, yeah, we need some straight answers to some straight questions.
Is it a coincidence that the TV deal was signed a month before Mr. Thompson took over his role?
Very possible. Any other questions we've got on the high performance review before we kind of summarise it? Okay, yeah, of course.
Hi. I've just been making notes as this evening's progressed, and we've started with bowlers and batsmen needing practice. Best practice is out in the middle. Bowlers want to bowl. I think Claude mentioned it, like spinners want to bowl, pace bowlers don't, because it's more effort for them. The batsmen also need to practice, although potentially one ball, practice is over. But you see all the Leicestershire players disappearing off to the nets. You see the away players disappearing off to the nets because we've got the good facilities there. But the players want to be out in the middle. And the spectators also pay the memberships every year, donate money, put the time in, want to see the players out on the field. We don't want to come down here on a Monday when they're practicing. We don't see the players. So that was it on the practicing. But if you then got not players coming, the fans coming down because there's fewer games, that also reduces your income, and that's a downward spiral. You've got fewer matches, so you've got fewer members, and the fewer members don't want to come because they're not seeing the best players, because they're either rested, and it's a downward spiral to get rid of counties. That's how I see that side of things. There's one question I've got in here, which I'll come to at the end, about financial incentives for counties to vote for this. I'll let you think on that. There's a note in these reports here that says the one-day cup's going to be played in April, when most white ball players are available, significantly strengthening quality and jeopardy versus today. Looking at when the IPL's played, when all the best white ball players play, it's in April and May. So therefore the best white ball players won't be available for those matches. So that's a load of cobblers. Sorry, Northampton. Friendly cricket in August. What's the point of friendly cricket? It won't attract sponsors, it won't attract fans, it won't attract finance. The only festival match that might attract money is Yorkshire versus Lancashire. And because they're not in the same division now, they'll probably vote for that, so they get to play each other. The hundreds taking money out of the game, as I see it, the money is going to overseas players, some overseas players, but they're the highest paid ones who get the highest value contracts, and it seems to be taking the money out of the game rather than keeping it in the game. Maybe controversial, but if you're reducing the number of matches, and therefore there's potentially fewer number of teams if they want to reduce the count, how can that be attracting players to the game? Because at the moment you've got 18 teams with 20 plus players each. That's nearly 400 players. You reduce that to 15 teams or 12 teams, that's a third of the opportunities for the players. So that's going to not attract players into the game. If you've got fewer opportunities for them to make it, whether it's with a county at the lower end of the second division at the moment, Leicestershire, or whether it's Surrey at the top end, you've still not got the opportunities. And my final one was about the 50 over competition. England are currently the 50 over world champions. Don't know when the next one is. Don't really care, because it's been reduced to a lower, because all the players who played in it last time don't play 50 over cricket anymore. And my final point was, have you heard about any financial incentives for counties to vote for HPR as stated?
No, we haven't had any financial incentives at all. And the point that we're making is, I've talked about the T20, we can't afford to lose £250,000. There's been no mention of any compensation for that either, and we've not been quoted any figures. And also, I think in terms of August and April, I'm keen to get a feel from the room about the 50 over competition and what people's thoughts were on having the 50 over competition in August, because we cannot just have friendlies. So any thoughts on the 50 over competition as well?
Would suggest to me that it's going to be downgraded. If you look at one-day cricket and the 50 over format of it, everybody wants to see 350 play 320. Play in April with Kookaburra balls, you're going to have 130 playing 120. And the appeal of it will quickly disappear, I think. So I would be absolutely in favour of August as opposed to April.
Show of hands on that. Would you prefer? Oh, question.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And there would need to be a reserve day for that, even to be viable.
Just behind you.
Sean, you can't market the one-day game because if they're advertising as a knockout competition, as the FA Cup is, I think that's how they describe it. And if we have our first game is away and we get knocked out, we don't see any first one-day cricket here at all. It's gone. We're out. End of. So that's just non-marketable to people with their membership. You told us last year, I think it was, I don't play for T20, I'm afraid, but 32 days of home cricket. Okay, we all know that we don't play 32 days because we don't play 4 days, but it's there, you know, weather, inclement weather and all the rest of it. However, the 4 one-day games, the home games in August, are sacrosanct. Yes, we're going to have them. It's good weather. The likelihood is, I know there was a Glamorgan game that we only did half of the year before, but the likelihood is we're going to get those. We're not going to get them in April, as we've said. It's not going to happen. This game, in whatever guise it's been, has always been, since 1966, Gillette Cup, whatever guise it's always been played in August. The final, up until the last 2 years, has always been at Lord's on the first weekend in September, or last weekend in August, I think it's first weekend in September. The 100 made sure that got moved to Trent. Very good, I've been up there twice, they did it very well. However, most players, Glamorgan and Durham last year, both sets of players would have preferred to be at Lord's, and so would Kent and Lancashire this year, because that is the home of the one-day final.
Yeah, well said. If it wasn't for Darren Stevens, we'd be in that bloody final as well. So anyway, it's another story. No, I totally agree with you. So just a show of hands then. If you would prefer the 50 over to go to April, put your hands up. If you want to stick with it in August, put your hands up. I think that's pretty conclusive, really, that one. All right, brilliant. Are there any more comments on the HPR?
Paper of which, thank you, the club has to vote on 2. Can you just tell us what the 2 questions or the 2 points are?
Yeah, they're items 10 and 11 on your piece of paper.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're not questions, but I'll ask you, I'm sure you can answer this question, although it's not a question. How is the club going to take the outcome of this meeting to the ECB? What's Leicestershire's vote going to be on those 2 points?
Right, absolutely. Well, that was the purpose of this evening, is to gather your views so that we can take those to the ECB, and that is what we will do. So we will collate everything that we've heard, and we will then put our feedback, along with the feedback from the other 17 counties, to the ECB, and we need to find out when there is going to be a vote. And the vote would effectively fall into 2 elements. One would be, are we happy to have the 50 over competition in April? I think we've answered that. And also, what would we like to see in terms of the structure for the county championship? And you've told us that as well.
The answer is no. The answer is no.
And the answer is also no to losing 2 home T20 matches as well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, now that we know what you want, that's our view.
I think that seems to be the consensus of what our members are. When we speak in the emails that we've had, that for me is where we're at. And we want to be incredibly transparent in our approach as well. So bear in mind, we're just one vote, but I suspect there are a lot of other counties going through a similar process.
So any final comments that we have? Final question?
Are you aware, say every single county votes against, what do you think the ECB are going to do?
I don't think they have any idea, never mind me. So, honest answer, I have no idea. There will be a big powwow, I would imagine, and sort of a reflection on what's gone on, and who knows? I mean, whatever happens, we'll come back and tell you. Yeah, there'll be a review with a review to make another review.
The counties, and I've been obviously to all of those that we've played. I don't think there'll be a vote. I don't think it will get to a vote. I think the ECB will recognise the weight of opinion that is coming from the counties and from the members, and I would be very surprised if it actually goes to a vote this side of Christmas. That they'll go away and rethink it.
I'd agree with you on that, John. I think that would be my thoughts. I think the new chairman of the ECB's got a very tough job, so he's got to come out and lead the game. So let's see what Mr. Thompson says. I think we've concluded pretty much where we are in that high performance review. Can we now move on to point 2? Is that all right? Great stuff. So, season that's just gone. We've had some real positives and some things that have not gone our way, including 2-point deduction, but anyway, I'm sure we'll talk about that. I think probably the best place to start. I mean, I can give you an overview from a chief exec's point of view, but I'm pretty sure that you'd probably want to hear from the cricket side most of all, as opposed to me. So I'm passing the book to Mr. Henderson to give us a review of what the cricket season has been this year. So over to you, Claude. Sorry.
Right, that's on. It's been, I would say, positives in white ball cricket. Really disappointed in the red ball season. A lot of challenges. I'm going to start with red ball cricket. I'm going to talk you through it on my views, and then we'll get to the 2 other comps. I arrived in October last year. There were 28 players contracted with Leicestershire, including overseas players. We've recognised 2 challenges with that. The one was it really blocked our pathway from the academy going into the second team. So all our young talent come through the academy. There was no opportunities in the second team for them to play any cricket. So that was the one. The other one was the budget I'm getting from Sean is not very big. And with 28 players contracted, that really limits the opportunity to have a good balance of experience and youth. This year's been really disappointed for me in 4-day cricket. I think we're miles away, batting and bowling. We need to get better, and we will get better. I've recognised, or we've recognised, new recruitments, so there will be new players being announced in the next 6 months, some really exciting new players. We've recognised the value of the overseas players that brings to the party. I've always said we want 2 overseas players for every 4-day game we play. So it's really challenging with the international schedule because of all the cricket that's going on to make sure that those players are available. Because if you sign a big player and it looks really exciting, if they're not here, it doesn't make a difference. So you have to find that balance of what you can afford, what the team needs, and what's the availability like. So that's really key. What I will say is, we're in talks with next year's overseas players, and there will be some announcements coming out on that, and it's really exciting. So that's a real positive. Unfortunately, this year we've lost, or 8 players have left Leicestershire. It's always sad to see players leave the club. I've made a constant effort that we will support those players the best we can in their future plans. It's important that we do that as a club. It's what we're about. That's what we're about, and we want to make sure that they are supported right through to the end. But it's a tough industry. Players come and go, and you'll find in every county that's the industry. Saying that, we've made some good local signings. The one Saul Buringer, who's been confirmed from Nottinghamshire, he signed a 2-year contract with the club. There will be a couple more that can't be announced tonight, but it will be announced in the next week or so. The other one is a guy called Mike Finnan, who joined us from Lancashire. So he used to play county cricket, then he left the game. He's gone into minor county cricket. And Alfonso Thomas has really recognised some young talent there. When I say young talent, not in age, but in experience of cricket. And it's a good addition to our squad. So that's the playing side. We've also looking at making an announcement on the coaching side. That would hopefully happen next week. That's a really exciting announcement. Yes, so on the support staff, we've had our physio and fitness trainers left to new opportunities, but saying that we've recruited a new head of sports science medicine, Ryan Smith, who's done the job before. He's taken over the reins from Will Garvey, and we've also signed a new strength and conditioning coach who's going to start it straight away. So that's all exciting. Everything is in place. This winter is going to be a really hard winter for the players. When I say hard, not on purpose, but everything has been planned and scheduled, individual programs, which starts on the 1st of November. Each player will be very clear on where they are physically, mentally, tactically and technically, with specialist coaches around them, and they have to nail it. So that will be November run through to April. So that's really exciting, and that will be monitored on a weekly basis. T20 cricket. Really positive. Personally, I was really disappointed in how we had to exit. Unfortunately, our past has haunted us. We haven't been good on the pitch. We've been penalised for bad behaviour, misconduct in the past, and that's built up and built up. And when you get to a certain level, Sean and I can go into meetings and fight as much as we can, which we did. But we just got onto the cliff and we fell off. We have to make sure that we don't do that. So there's now a fine system in place. So whenever a player is naughty on the field, he'll get fined. If he keeps doing that, the fines will double. And if he keeps doing that, that will get to a situation where it's a problem and we'll have to look at terminating his contract. We have to do that because that's the culture we want to set. We can't afford as a cricket club, if we play a certain level of cricket and have a real good chance of making a quarter-final and semi-finals and finals day, that we exit on the way we did this year. We just can't do it. So I'm unfortunately the bad man in the office, and I'll have to, and the players are very clear on where we stand with that. I'll give you an example. Rian Ahmed got a level 1 last 2 weeks ago, Derbyshire. He got a big 100, played beautifully, hit the pitch on the way out when he got out. The rules and regulations says that that's a level 1. Now we can argue with the ECB, which I've done, and I've written various emails. The fact of the matter is, it's a level 1. So he'll be fine. He's accepted the fine. He's apologized, and we move on. So that's where we are with the discipline on the pitch. Really excited about next year's T20 squad. Ben Mike's been, I think, a big loss for us. I've got to be honest. We have offered Ben Mike a contract to stay. The contract that he was offered was quite a margin more than what he was on this year. Unfortunately, he made the decision to go to Yorkshire. If that's a right decision or wrong decision, that's done, he's moved on. But we've always said when somebody leaves, it opens up another opportunity. So looking at next year's T20 squad, I'm very excited. I think we'll have a more balanced team and a very, very strong T20 side. 50 over cricket, really positive. We've seen the value of our overseas players in that, and we've also seen what a great opportunity 50 over cricket is for younger players to go and prove what they're about and do well. Unfortunately, we missed out in the quarter-final, but I would say that's a positive sign, and we're always going to look to improve and do better. I don't want to sit here and say we only focus on T20 cricket or only 50 over cricket, but I would be honest with you and say my biggest focus, a lot of focus is on 4-day cricket. We have to get that right. If we need to get better, we need to improve, we need to make sure our culture's right, we've got to make sure our batsman gets the right knowledge, our bowlers gets the right knowledge, we create the depth and compete. Make sure our home games is a place where we know how to take 20 wickets. If you don't take 20 wickets in 4-day cricket, you've got a problem. Because your batsman will be in the field for 2 days. So that's a challenge. Saying that, we also need to score runs. Because if we don't score runs, you'll be in the shower as a fast bowler, and you'll be out in the field again. So there's two sides of it. I'm very pleased how Alfonso Thomas has gone this year with the bowlers. We've seen a lot of improvement individually with our bowlers. Even in the white ball game, our bowling has gone from second last to second best. We look at the stats in the T20. And I'm really excited on his plans and what he wants to do with the bowlers this winter. We thought that splitting the captaincy was quite positive this year. Colin Ackerman had a lot on his shoulders, carried a lot of weight with captaining, young family, pressure to score runs. We've shifted that captaincy to Parky in the 4-day game, which has been really positive. I don't know how many other clubs do this, but we're going to do this next year. We're going to have the 3 captains. Callum Parkinson will do the 4-day games, Ackerman the T20s, and Lewis Hill the 50-over games. I hope I've explained quite a bit on the season and the winter plans. I think I've jumped to 223, but I'm I grew up in an environment where winning is the only option, and if you lose, you shake the opposition's hand with a smile, but it hurts. And I'm definitely not a loser, I'm a winner, and we will have to find a way to get better in all 3 formats. Thank you.
Brilliant, thanks, Claude. I don't know if there are any questions anybody wants to ask us.
We've got one online first, if we start.
Oh, go on then. Yeah, go on.
Claude, you touched on the recruitment, the announcement of Mikey Finan and Sol Budinger already, but David Joseph has asked, what kind of players are we looking to recruit? Are we going down the line of players who can play across the formats, or red ball and white ball specialists?
That's a real good question. I'm in talks. Is he referring to overseas players or just in general? So in general, we want to have 8 seamers within our squad. That balance of those 8 fast bowlers is very important, what we have in experience and youth coming through. Josh Hull would be the 9th. This year we had 12 contracted seam bowlers, which is too many, because what you'll find is a lot of them won't play. And so where we are now, we're probably looking at 1 local seamer to come in. He's a very frustrated first team seamer at a county that wants to play more, and he will probably fall just underneath Chris Wright, but above the rest, what we've got. The challenge going with the overseas seamer is what we found with Björn Hendricks this year, which was really disappointed for me, Björn, and all of us sitting here, was you invest in the overseas bowler, you've got to make really sure, are they going to stay on the pitch, are they going to bring in the results, what you can afford. Finding overseas bowlers to come to Leicester and cover 5-6 months is really tricky. So the local market was the one we went for. I would say the overseas market, we've got one guy that did really well this year, Jan Mulder. So we're in talks with Jan Mulder, and what Jan Mulder does for us is he gives us good balance. He bats in the top 5, and he can take the new ball in all 3 formats. Top of that is a wonderful guy. So we're in talks. It's not been. We'll announce that when we finalise that. But I hope that answers your question. 8 players have left, but you still want to strengthen your squad. What I will say is, all the recruitments coming in for next year, which will happen now over the winter and it's come in, will compete to play in the first team, not in the second team. So when we bring new people in, we want to make sure they play in the first team. Can they play more than one format? And put pressure on those who's already here. And I think what's happening, the players has left this year, is they were stuck in the second team, a lot of them, which is really frustrating for us and for them. So it's important when we recruit, that we recruit quality, not just on the field, but also off the field, what they bring to the party.
I think we had a question at the back. Yeah.
Right, Claude. I know a lot of people like myself have been disappointed in the 4-day results, not just for this year, but for the last 10 years. And to me, it's no coincidence that in that same period, with better coaching facilities for youngsters, we haven't yet managed to produce an established red ball bowler or red ball batsman. And it seems to fall in line with the lack of results. We're a small county, we're dependent on producing young cricketers. We never had a problem in the past producing them. I know it's not like switching a conveyor belt on and a young cricketer's going to come off at the end of it, but I can't understand why there's been a lack of production in the last 10 years. Of all the youngsters that we've had coming through, there's not anybody made it as an established red ball bowler or red ball batsman. And the ones that we've brought in haven't established that with their own counties. We give them a couple of years, and if they've not made it, they sort of filter through to the white ball game, and that's the end of it. It needs a policy change at the top level there to state that our ambition as a first-class county is to produce first-class cricketers. Produce first-class cricketers, and the white ball game, as you said earlier, will take care of itself. Now, you know, I don't know what's going wrong. We've got good coaches. We're giving the youngsters plenty of opportunity. But somewhere between the end of the coaching winter and when they start playing, if they make it up to second team level, they've just not got that ability.
Mr. Manny, you've made some wonderful points there. 3 things come to mind. I learned playing cricket when I was 19 next to Brian McMillan, Gary Kirsten, Craig Matthews, big names. When I say big names, experienced cricketers. So the first thing that comes to mind is the only way the Rishi Patels and the Louis Kimbers and the Rain Ahmeds are going to really develop is not just through coaching. We have to create the opportunity for them to play with experience. We've got a huge lack of experience in our first team. Huge lack. If we look at the amount of years experience in our first team versus other counties, it's chalk and cheese. So that's the first point I want to make. Experience doesn't bring trophies, it develops. It develops. So Jig and Nake, I'm going to praise myself a little bit here. Jigga learned from me. I moved on. Then the young spinner who's come in learns from Jigga. So we need you can bring in all the coaches and have all the facilities. So I'm talking first team environment. We have to get that right. With the budget we have, it's a tricky affair. So I've got to cut 3 young cricketers who hasn't done well, which is unfair to them, because if you look at a young batsman at the age of 21, 22, you only get to your best when you're 30. But how are you going to get to your best? You need the experience next to you. So if you bat with a Vian Mulder for 2 hours, that's more valuable than being coached by Duncan Fletcher for 2 days. So that's the one point I want to make, is we've got to look at the seniority in our first team. The second point I want to make is the gap between academy cricket to second team cricket is huge. There's a huge gap. So you go and watch under 19s play, our under 18s academy. When they jump into the second team environment, it's massive. However, the only way for them to learn is to get those opportunities, which they haven't had. So we've got to create this pathway of 5, 6 of them playing second team cricket every second team game. If we lose every game in the second team, it doesn't matter, as long as we're learning with quality coaches around. The gap between second team cricket and first team cricket is huge. Chalk and cheese. So you go and take 5 wickets in the second team, you get picked for the first team. It's like a storm's hit you. Wickets are flatter, batsmen's better, umpires are better. So it's massive. So how am I going to learn? I need the experience around me to take me through those moments and fight and fight and fight and learn. Jacques Kallis first 2 years in Test cricket averaged 7. 7. Best player the world's ever seen. But he's learned. So for me it's not an easy. All the points you've made is spot on. And I totally agree with you. It's finding the right structures and systems to make sure that academy goes into second team, making sure that the coaching is really strong in that second team environment. We've got some wonderful coaches at this club, a lot of knowledge. And then make sure when they make the jump to first team that we've got enough experience with the right culture, environment and discipline and work ethic to learn, which is going to fast track them. So the value of overseas players is not just wickets and runs, it's what do they bring to the changing room? What do they offer? And we want to try and add those, that experience will be boosted for next year. We're going to announce something in the next few days that's going to be really excited. We're going to add to that experience in the first team. Not just players, also staff, to give those players the best chance of competing. First team cricket is not just a learning environment. I want to turn up and say, well, we're going to win here. We want to win. We don't want to turn up and just develop. We want to develop, yes, our best youth, but we want to compete and we want to win. So I hope that's answered some of your questions.
It's great. I'll just add to that. I think Claude and I talk for hours on end about creating the right culture for the club, and I think maybe in years gone past The culture's not been right. The wrong mentality, the wrong sort of attitude towards it, and the culture's got to be right, and we've got to get the systems right. And I genuinely believe we are starting to make some strides towards that. In football, it's very easy to change it very quickly, sort of sell a player. In cricket, it's a slower process. I actually feel now, with the structure that we've got and the people we have in place, and what you'll see over the winter, we're now starting to create the right culture. I will have to manage your expectations, however. You know, we're all here, we all want to win, we all want to do well, but it's going to take time. We're going to make sure we make the right decisions, and bear in mind our budgets are tight. So the more, for me, the more members we can get, the more sponsors we can get, the more supporters of the club we can get, the better it is, and that's our place to reinvest in the right way. So for us, our budgets are tight, but we're going to make sure that every pound that we spend, we get a good return on investment on, and that's what we're trying to do. That's the right culture at Leicestershire County Cricket Club. So then, if any further questions of Claude and myself? Yeah.
And lost one away and won the rest. Is there a different attitude to that you don't want to win at home? Because that's what brings the fans back. You win at home, you're going to get more people coming in. Oh, you're going to see them win. They're going to be an exciting game. We're going to win.
I've got to tell you, we this year we had a record attendance at T20 here at Grace Road. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
50 raffle, so thank you to everybody who bought tickets.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Our attendances for T20 were up by 26% this year. That demonstrates to me we're on the right path.
Fantastic point. And cricket's about confidence. We want to make a home ground. We want to make Grace Road the place we can win 4-day cricket, T20 cricket. What you just said there is so interesting, because I've had a conversation with a player who would turn up in a 50-over format against the same opposition and be really confident we're going to win. The same player against the same opposition in 4-day cricket, we've got no chance. The reason for that is they're scarce. There's a lack of confidence. We've got to break those barriers as a team. When you get to a place where you believe you're going to win, you're going to score 400 plus, you're not going to give the opposition any free runs, you're going to take 20 wickets, that's a great feeling. That is the hardest work. The less harder work is the T20 format. Anyone can win. The shorter the format, the easier it is to win. The longer the format, the harder it is to win. You need more consistency, you need more grit, you need more mind, more tactical decision making. You need better. So it's great points, and you're spot on. We want to make Grace Road our home fortress, and we want to do well at Grace Road. 100%.
Any other hands? No? Fantastic. I think we've kind of touched upon the winter and 2023, and I think probably what you've heard this evening hopefully demonstrates the direction of travel that Leicestershire is going in. There are some real positives at the club that are now starting to come through. You know, yes, we accept the performances in the Red Bull were not good enough and not where we want them to be, but we're addressing that. I believe we're turning into a strong, formidable white ball team, and we're only getting better. The squad of the team is only going to get better. The production line of the pathway is only going to get better. You'll see over this winter some really exciting news about our club and the changes that we're making. And that's what we've got to do. We have to change the direction of Leicestershire, which has been poor for the past 10 years for one reason or another. Now we're on the right path. It's going to take a lot of hard work. It's going to take a lot of determination. And I've always said, success is not linear. So we're going to have our ups and downs, and there's going to be some great times, and there's going to be some tough times. But rest assured, the club is heading in the right direction. We've got people that are joining us that can really add something extra to this club as well. And that's not just on the coaching or the playing side, it's off the field as well. So we've got a nice, good, positive structure throughout the club. So hopefully start to see the changes that we want to make. Our difficulty is always going to be the budgets that we've got. And if I had the budgets, I'd paint you probably noticed by now, paint the whole place green. I can't quite afford that. So it's got to be done bit by bit. So we're building as a club, and that's a big thing. That for us is our strategy for 2023. It's about building this club in all the different parts of the business. For example, building a cricket team that we can be really proud of and that's coming through, and there's some great talent that's emerged. Building the relationships with our community. Building those bridges again, some that we've lost, some that we want to get back. Building the commercial side of things. We've had a great year, increased sponsors, increased hospitality, increased numbers. Our conference and banqueting has gone up. So all those things are pointing in the right direction. It's about building. Equally, the ground. We've got to look at how we develop Leicestershire and Grace Road, or should I say, James is not here, the Upton Steel County Ground. So we've got to look at how we develop that. So, over this winter, please help spread the word. Spread the word about the positivity. Despite what Mr. Strauss and the review wants to do, we know where we stand as a club, and we are heading in the right direction. Membership is up, but we need you guys to spread that word. We can do so much. We can market it. You know, we've got now what we call a communications pillar that's going to help us spread the word, talk about the great stuff that we're doing. But we need you guys to write to the Leicester Mercury, to get out there, tell your neighbour, join us on this journey, because the journey is pretty special. I promise you. So, on behalf of me, Jonathan and Claude, thank you for coming along this evening. Really appreciate it. It's been brilliant. I think we're all singing off the same hymn sheet, which is fantastic. And we're going to hang around for another half hour or so, so if you want to have a chat to us, by all means do so. But really appreciate it. Thank you for your support. And as I say in cricket, go well this winter. Thank you.